That is very hard.
Then the pandemic coming and people that was riding with guaranteed jobs. I know a person that I was employed with that I had checked up with recently. He's in his early 70s and this pandemic came and he said he's at home now. He got laid off. All the changes just came upon a lot. I'm just iterating to the people that has essential jobs that is still employed out there. You are blessed. But it is an expansion of more than 12 million people are becoming unemployed every day.
Yeah.
And with that financial burden becoming down on the family, like I said before, the government is here in the nation offering
the extension of the memorandum. They are doing all different types of things. And that's where Transitional Changes Mission also come in. Because we're in the process right now of implementing trauma-informed care. That will be via online for right now. But we hope to have these services available in many different states and also countrywide, but it often involves a cultural shift to a relational context at all levels of our organization. This TIC is a strengths-based organizational approach in which all services are provided through a trauma lens. Establishing trusting, supportive relationships is the cornerstones for these services. These TICs prevents re-traumatization and creates opportunities for survivors to develop a sense of physical and emotional safety, control, agency, and self-efficiency, all of which increase the likelihood that families achieve residential stability and become self-supporting of themselves and others. The inalienable link between parent and child necessitates that to care for the child, we must care for the mother and her father as well. This approach has two significant implications. First, it addresses underlying trauma, depression, and other conditions of the parent. And second, it implements solutions for the parent and child so that it could all work together as a family.
And we all are a huge family in this world. And that's just one of the solutions that Transitional Changes Mission is letting the crowd know that we are tackling it on and we need your help. But at the same time, we need your help of thinking of solutions. As we come back after this commercial, we'll talk about that. So we need you to stay tuned, get whatever you need, share this, follow this, like this.
And we'll be back after this break.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to the Transitional Changes Mission podcast show with your host, King Summers.
And your host, Queen Summers.
We left off at coming up with a solution with this, but I want to let some more reflections back to how we are getting to where we are now. It is not nobody at fault for this. I mean, life is a roller coaster. Even for us, husband and wife and kids, we done went through the ups and downs in life. Meaning that you climb the mountain, you slip on a rock, you fall down. Either you start back trying to gather that peak again or go to another peak. But it's the same roller coaster that everybody has experienced. Meaning that nothing in life is guaranteed. When you start to realize that and you get the experience, it makes you a lot more humble. We turned that humbleness into a solution and designed Transitional Changes Mission for that whole purpose. We added on communication bridge gap closed with talking about current events. But our main article in our Transitional Changes Mission nonprofit organization is to solve family homelessness from day one. And with that, I just wanted to say that with this pandemic, and I'm talking to the pandemic, we are going to come out of this. We are going to defeat it. But during this roller coaster of going down and we're starting to go back up, we pray with the vaccine or with the positive energy going out, that it start floating away. And then we have to go to a level of recovery. But during this time of going down in this steep hill, we are going to have to gather with all type of ideas to help the ones that fall and help them get back up. With the job layoff, with finance surrounding the whole atmosphere of how your condition of life, your status life is, meaning if you making $3 an hour, you probably staying in a hotel. If you making $10, $12, $15 an hour, you staying in an apartment. If you making 80 to 100,000, you most likely are buying a house. But at the same time, that job or that entrepreneur service that you are doing can always be taken from underneath you. This is not our first adventure in the business land.
Not at all.
Like most, if you take the time out to read the knowledge on entrepreneur, 99% of all entrepreneurs fail on their first adventure.
And many others thereafter. I have a very good person who I came to know, 65 years old, finally opened up his first business as a laundromat owner.
Yes.
And he had
how many? Brought back some good remembers.
How many companies did he start before?
He said he did 24 years in the Air Force, worked for over 15 years as I think.
Yes, he worked on the gas oil rig.
On oil rigs or something. He moved around, been through marriage with kids, still is marriage. I think he was explaining his ups and downs, the roller coaster. But what inspired me as we was talking business, I told him about how we closed out our first adventure. He was like, man, I went through that and I'm 63 years old and I finally got a foundation of a business that I'm doing right now. He had a laundromat. Told me how he took loans out and how he just don't get to a modernized laundromat. It was nice. First one that I had seen like that. Gave me so much inspiration. A lot of other things from that failure or learning tip that we went through, we learned more to where our child is now turning into a toddler.
Right.
With your help.
Long as everybody understands, and I want us all to be on the same page with this and understanding homelessness, because it's embedded within various complex systematic issues, including poverty, racism, health disparities, deteriorating neighborhoods, lack of a national housing policy, and most importantly, the unequal distribution of wealth. To overcome housing insecurity, we must set priorities. First, we must acknowledge that each person, male, female, child, deserves living conditions that ensure human dignity and provide safety, protection, and opportunity, especially for the children. Recognizing that responsibility means more than providing a roof over families' heads. We have learned through 3 decades of experience what steps to take to prevent, reduce, and even eliminate homelessness among families and children. And acting on this knowledge requires political will. Homelessness is a devastating event in the lives of low-income families and children. As long as federal policy is based on inaccurate numbers driven by limited definitions and the ongoing disavowal that homelessness often damages children, the problem will continue to mushroom and threaten the well-being of a generation of children. We must not, as humans, continue to allow this. The initial step involves understanding the needs of families, children most affected by this experience. And to do so, we must agree on the definition of homelessness, develop a standardized and accurate way of counting families and children, and recognize that children are being harmed. This extensive database associated with all emerging neuroscience data have convincingly demonstrated that the impact of homelessness can be lifelong and may contribute significantly to the common diseases, disabilities, and morality associated with various outcomes.
That is so true. Now, I want to drop a jewel here. I want to drop some knowledge to the people about how to let go. If you got piles of bills on you right now, if you got a sense of you thinking that you're in a hump of bad luck, we believe everything has a purpose. Mm-hmm. And when you go through this purpose, don't stress yourself out like it's the end of the world. Most all the time, it's happening for a reason. And the number one thing that it took me a long time to embrace, I mean, even with hearing podcast shows talking like this, or even hearing an older person talking to me, you hold on to what you got so hard that it's so hard to let go. No, anybody can tell you, just let go, let it go, let it go. In all things that you will have an attachment to. Just think for a minute, like I said on previous show, Power. I said you get to a stop sign, you breathe, you look both ways, and you move forward. Mm-hmm. Meaning, let go of the past. You look back in your rearview mirror and hit your gas to go forward.
That's right. Accelerate.
Because you never know what lies before. If the Creator is taking you through something that's minor, because that's what it is minor. Meaning that if you're losing a mansion, you're losing that Ferrari, you're losing $10,000 that you're not putting back in the bank right now because you're not working, you're living off your savings, the bills just keep rolling in.
And you know what, King? That brings me to another story I would like to share with our listeners tonight, this evening. And that's the story of a man who came to us. He had worked at a Fortune 500 company. He was driving a Lexus. He had a BMW. I think he said he had a Porsche. And within 3 months of the pandemic hitting, he lost all his cars. He lost his mansion. He lost certain family members and even had to go through a divorce. And how we met, he was wanting to buy my car. One thing about me, I always ask questions, because even though I don't have an attachment to material things, you still want to know, like, where you taking it. Is it going to be in good hands?
Yeah.
What type of person are you? You're not going to take the car to the chop shop and break it down, is you? So when he explained, he didn't just say, oh, I'm just going to take the car and, go to another state. He basically broke down his whole life story of his rise and his fall.
Yes.
And at the end of his story, he told me, your car now is my home.
Yeah.
My home. That made me want to sell the car to him even faster. To know that him and his family was not going to be sleeping on the street, but they was going to be sleeping in the car.
What should you get out of that story is that, to me, I feel rejoiced selling him this because when a person tell you their life story of the past that is destructive, you might be sitting there like, whoa, I thought I was going through something. But when you hear that story and somebody has built up the confidence to tell you what they have been through, that is a movement going forward. The thing that you would gather out of that is that it's easy to talk about the past, but it's hard to talk about the future because the future is unknown. But when you embrace letting that past go, you are able to see the future, meaning that once he might have was sleeping I think he said he was sleeping in his family house, which was very not good
for him. It was very chaotic, multi-generational.
He explained now he was so happy that now he